to your mother. It's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just some high-flying, ran fast vertical stems and professors from Penn watching eagles eat and pray like Pazookies on birthdays. It's Philadelphia. Marissa, Bo, and Zach kicking it. Cooler than 3 penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some
Birds with Friends.
The early bird gets the worm, but prefers getting turned like a turn on some
Birds with Friends.
Marissa, Bo, and Zach are here to squawk. Don't miss the mistress talk on some.
This is what it's all about. We do daily podcasts for like 2.5 weeks during training camp. We got all kinds of time for guests and nonsense.
I will open up a 2-hour block.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Birds with Friends, live from Lincoln Financial Field. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, after the Eagles' 31-7 victory over the San Francisco Giants in the NFC Championship game. Zach, for the 4th time in franchise history and the 2nd time in 6 seasons, the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. How are you? What did you do yesterday?
I was waiting for this game. Really. This was even better than I expected the Eagles to play. I thought they would win, but I thought it was going to be a little closer. I did not expect Brock Purdy to get knocked out on the first drive. But the Eagles continue to what they've done all year, right? They've been the favorites all year.
Come a little closer. Get in here.
They've been the best team in the NFL throughout the season, or in the NFC throughout the season. And you saw it in the postseason. They dominated San Francisco. And I know San Francisco did not have Brock Purdy out there, but even still, the Eagles ran the ball for 4 touchdowns, over 100 yards rushing. They dominated on defense, and they deserve this spot in the Super Bowl.
How upset, give me like a level of despondence do we have from Emily Berman that we have a week away in Arizona?
She's excited. She's excited for my career, for our coverage. Yeah, it's going to be a good opportunity.
Over dogs.
She's just she's excited to watch Daily Pods. So this is going to be an interesting. I mean, it's such a fascinating Super Bowl. Obviously, the Chiefs are in it. Eagles, Chiefs. It's ripe with storylines. 2 best teams in the
Prince
NFL.
Prince Winogo revenge game.
It's the 2 best teams. This is what it should be.
Marissa, how are you? Wherever you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I am doing awesome. This chat is so lively. It's so excited. There's like almost 400 people in here. It's awesome. So trying to see who's going to work tomorrow. It's very exciting. I'm happy for all of our listeners because that was such a fun game to watch.
Are you already there in Arizona?
Yeah, I wish. I'm actually in Florida. So we got to watch it with the waves today, which was very nice. But yeah, it was such a crazy game. Michael had some notes. He did have there was a wipe touchdown or wipe, I don't know, whatever he called it, the wipe technique. Yeah. The wipe technique that the second
which is
touchdown
different than Jordan
game.
Mailata playing on the other side of the ball. Sorry, go ahead.
He was pointing out all the different Abby fronts or whatever the defense was
a lot
doing.
Of Abby.
So yes, he was very excited for his film review stuff too. So
we're gonna have to get him back for the Super Bowl. He's committed at this point.
I'm sure he would love to do that. So yeah.
All right. Let's get to the action, Zach, because it really was this was still a tight game in the first half, but the first 2 drives of the game is when this game was decided. You have the opening drive, the Eagles lose the coin toss, they get the ball to start, and Nick Sirianni, as we talked about, was going to be aggressive on 4th down as opposed to Kyle Shanahan. He goes for it on 4th and 3. And Jalen Hurts rolling to his left finds Devontae Smith downfield. Looks like an acrobatic catch by Devontae Smith. The Eagles rush to the line, snap the ball.
Smart play right there.
Turns out that it probably wasn't a catch. Shanahan doesn't throw the challenge flag. Eagles score a touchdown. Next drive, Niners get the ball. And on 2nd down, I believe the 6th play of that drive, the Niners assign a tight end to block Hassan Reddick.
Bad decision.
He of the 16 sacks in the regular season. And he sort of explodes towards Brock Purdy, and the closing speed there was unbelievable. He hits Purdy in the wrist as the ball is just about to come forward from his hand, does not come forward, and it's ruled an incompletion. But Nick Sirianni does challenge it, and it's ruled a fumble. The Eagles end up not scoring a touchdown, but the play changed the game because Brock Purdy was pretty much out for the game until later. Josh Johnson suffers a concussion, and Purdy has to come in, but he can't throw. And so the Niners, whose season and their seasons under Kyle Shanahan have often been described and like overarched by quarterback injuries, that's how their season ends. And the Eagles, despite some offensive stalling in that like late first, early second quarter, they score a touchdown later on a 14-play drive that was characterized by some Niners penalties. And from there, the route was on. And it was a 37 party here in South Philadelphia.
Yeah, well said. That was a good summary of the game, because those first two drives were critical. And it's simplistic to say one coach challenged a play, the other coach didn't challenge a play, and that decided the game. It didn't necessarily decide the game, but it was decisive, because if Kyle Shanahan challenges that play, and I know the Eagles rushed to the line, then it's probably overturned, and the Eagles need the punt, right?
That was fourth down. It was.
Oh, yeah. I'm
ball.
sorry. Yeah. It would have been Niners ball there. Correct. And then if Nick Sirianni doesn't challenge that, it's an incomplete pass, right? And it didn't lead to anything. It didn't lead to points or anything, but, field position game. Yeah, I mean, those were two critical plays.
Oh, Michael did add on that play that he was very impressed that they were able to get to the line and do that. And that is something that they practice. They talked about on the broadcast that they have a word that they use, and usually the quarterback spots it, that like, it might be something that was not actually a catch.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Devontae
he said it was very
signaling it as well. Yeah.
Yes, it was very impressive that the whole offense is able to get to the line and get that play off. So that was a big play. And he said that would obviously also never happen if it was on the road too, because they would have had the video board playing the replay right away, and
That's interesting.
people would have seen it. So another advantage of home field advantage. So yeah.
Good point. And credit to Devontae there, because he wasn't, near out of bounds. So there was no controversy there. So him signaling it was because he knew it was iffy on the catch, and that directly led to points. As a matter of fact, the Eagles went 3 for 3 on fourth downs. We talked on the show on Friday about Nick Sirianni's aggressiveness relative to Kyle Shanahan, and you were spot on there. The Eagles were 3 for 3 on fourth downs. 2 of those fourth downs directly led to points, or directly led to touchdowns, I should say. So
I believe 4 on their first 4 trips to the red zone. Pretty good.
Yeah. So really just, it's funny because we look at this game overall and we say this wasn't the Eagles' A game, right? They stalled offensively at times. Jalen was 15 for 25, $170 thereabouts.
Yeah, not even.
And
$121.
Yeah. So that's my fault there. But
it's fine. Don't beat yourself up. I'm the
overall
one who has it in front of me.
Overall, it wasn't like the finest offensive performance. They still won by 24 points. The 49ers, they led the league in scoring defense this year at like 16 points and change. The Eagles topped that in the first half. The end of the second quarter sequence, the Eagles have done this all year with the way they finished the second quarter of games. And you saw this again, where they score the touchdown, then they force the turnover, they score again. That was a huge sequence. And San Francisco,
although they barely even forced that turnover.
Yeah, it was more. Yeah. But they recovered it.
Just sort of gave it to them.
But San Francisco in that situation, like, it was still a game, right? And Josh Johnson, they weren't getting much done offensively, but the Eagles weren't really moving the ball on offense.
Yeah, after Purdy goes out, they had 3 drives in a row where they only got 1 first down combined.
And so you think, well, if San Francisco can go into halftime, they can regroup perhaps. I know what Peyton Manning said about halftime adjustments. It's kind of a myth, but you have a chance to kind of regroup. You're with your backup quarterback here, or it's really your 4th string quarterback, and you can figure it out from there. But then that second touchdown was just brutalized them. And the Eagles came out in the second half and did what they needed to do. Just so impressed with this Eagles team, have been all year. We've said it in so many post-game pods, and it's so true. They answered the bell offensively, defensively, coaching-wise. Just a big credit to them.
Let me ask you the hypothetical that I'm sure is the Niners fan concern. How do you think this game plays out if Brock Purdy doesn't get hurt?
I think the Eagles still win. Do you?
I think they still win handily.
Yeah.
And like that's hard to say definitively because the Eagles did struggle a little bit offensively in the middle of the first half. But I mean, their defensive line dominated this game up front.
Exactly.
That was the biggest mismatch in the entire game. They were just, I mean, snap in, snap out, mollywomping those guys. And if Brock Purdy doesn't get hurt there, Brock Purdy's going to be getting hit a lot in this game. And even their run defense, you know, there was the one really impressive Christian McCaffrey touchdown run, but even that was like he had to like superhumanly break 4 tackles. It's not like they were running effectively, generally speaking. The Eagles won this game on both sides of the line of scrimmage, which is exactly how you would dial it up if you were Howie Roseman, and it paid off. And as you said, like this, if we take a step back, this is the best team in franchise history. I think, even if they don't win the Super Bowl, and maybe, you know, you can argue like greatest, but in terms of like the quality of play, I mean, they're 16-1 in the 17 games that Jalen Hurts has started. And most of those games have not even been close. I mean, I think there are 5 games that are decided by 7 points or fewer, and some of those weren't even that. Like they've played like 3 close games. They have the best roster in football. They're going to go up against the best quarterback in football, so we'll see how that turns out. But as you said, like week in, week out, this has been the best team in football, and I think they are the best team in franchise history.
Well, they need to win one more game to do that, right? Because if they lose, I mean, we'll have 2 weeks to discuss that. But you were absolutely right. This team, it's just so impressive to me because I know we can't keep comparing things to 2017, and I'm falling guilty of it too.
Well, you wrote a book,
but no, from the beginning, like this team has had the targets on their backs. They were this sleeper Super Bowl team. I remember was the first day of training camp when Jason Kelsey says that every time people think we're going to be awesome, we're shitty, and every time people think we're
you can't help but work in blue.
And then
you can't do it.
And then before week 1, he said, you know, I know everyone expects us to win the Super Bowl this year, right? Like this is a team, and I spoke to Lane Johnson about this after the game, where Lane said it's the total opposite story from 2017. This is a team that knew they had a loaded roster going into the year, and you've seen it. Like that 2017 team had all these injuries they had to overcome in the postseason. The Eagles had 22 of 22 starters healthy today for this game. I mean, Jalen he's answering the bell at every call. Like he didn't turn the ball over today. It was slick out there from what I understand. We have the benefit of a roof over our head, but San Francisco had 3 turnovers. San Francisco led the NFL in turnover differential this year. Eagles had no turnovers, right? Like that stuff matters. Penalties. San Francisco had 11 penalties. Eagles had 4 penalties. Eagles were the more disciplined team.
They were the better coach team.
Exactly. But it's been like this all year. That's the thing. So it's kind of the premise of what I wrote about. It's a story being edited now, that this isn't like a surprise. This isn't. It really seemed throughout the year that they were, and especially as the season started, that this, I don't want to say inevitable, but this was expected to happen.
I think that's right. I think, I mean, from like week 3 on, this felt inevitable. I mean, I think I wrote it after week 3, after that Washington game, where it was like, this is a team that like they were so good. They were so good in so many different ways. As we've talked about, they proved they could win in so many different ways. And they had this feeling of kismet about them too. You know, it was like the Batman thing. And then it turns out that Devontae Smith has Batman tattoos. There's all these little things. And then we wrote about it in Arizona. Like, this is where this team seems destined to return, but they're also across the sideline from a team that started last year 7-0. So they have these 2 different paths, but it's also like parsing out like skill and the brilliance of the architecture of the team from a roster construction standpoint, from like what is lucky, what has gone their way. There's obviously a little bit of both. And that is what makes them so good, is that they've had both. Like, for instance, the fact that they were healthy enough to have all 22 starters this late in the season, that is unlikely. And that's, you give credit to the training staff and the sports science staff, but that's still very unlikely. So you want to take advantage of that. You get the benefit of being the number 1 seed.
Exactly.
And the 2 teams you have to play to get to the Super Bowl are led by Daniel Jones and Brock Purdy.
But they earned that.
100%.
Yeah.
But that's still lucky that
Yeah.
that's the only road that you have to get through. So they have had this benefit of being the best team and also getting some lucky bounces. And so, as you said, there have been opportunities for them to step on their own toes, and they have not done that ever. They have answered the bell at every opportunity.
You're right. And look, the whole purpose of the regular season, and Jeffrey Lurie said it in his post-game speech after Week 18, that he pulled Nick Sirianni and the coaches into his office for a meeting a few days before the season started and said their only goal in the regular season is they got the number 1 seed. And you might think that's pretty lofty, right? It's hard to do. But the number 1 seed was such an advantage for this team. It allowed them to get healthy when their quarterback was banged up. Okay, it's one fewer game, obviously that you play. It allows them to be the home team here, and it gives them that path. Like when you're the 1 seed and there's a first round upset like the Giants were, you face the Giants. You have San Francisco coming here, right? I mean, if the Eagles had to face Dallas last week, or if the Eagles were on the road in San Francisco, it's a different situation. So, or it could be a different situation, I should say. So, point being, the Eagles earned this spot here, and you saw the benefits of it. You've seen the benefits of it with Kansas City as well. The Eagles aren't lucky to be here. The Eagles earned this. The Eagles went pole to pole this year as the best team in the NFL, and now they're facing the team
even when they were
with their
greased.
best record. I like that. That's why you're Bo Wulf, right?
I don't know if that's why I'm Bo Wulf, but yeah. James Bradbury talked about it after the game, where he was asked when did you think this was a Super Bowl team, and he said, well, I knew that we were pretty stacked in training camp, and then week 1 the offense comes out, scores 38 points, and I'm thinking, okay, well, anytime you've got an offense that can score 30 points, you're feeling pretty good. Week 3 the defensive line dominates, and I'm thinking, okay, well, if the front seven's that good, I can be more aggressive on the back end, and it kept different parts of the team kept proving themselves.
That's a good quote. Yeah. Now I'm kind of jealous of you.
I mean, you talked to Jeffrey Lurie for 15 minutes. I got one line out of James Bradbury. I think you're going to be all right.
That's a good quote. That's all I'm saying. It's a good quote.
Okay. Let's talk about the scene a little bit, because the game really did sort of feel secondary once Purdy went down and the game felt inevitable.
Well, especially at the end of the second quarter. Well, at halftime, it really felt like, all right, they just need to manage this lead.
Right. I find, so it's different than a normal game because they do the NFC ceremony on the field afterwards. So things take longer. And I find myself it's a little bit emotional. I think when you're watching the players and their families come off the field and celebrate and head to the locker room, the Eagles staffers, whether that's coaches or front office people, and some of them have family too, and they're all celebrating. And it's this is what you put in all that time for. This is why you're away from your family, so much of the time. This is why you put in the long hours to get to this mountaintop. And Nick Sirianni has talked about the mountain. That's his go-to analogy about the season, is that in order to get to the top, you got to focus on what's in front of you. And the air gets thinner, as he says. But you watch these people celebrate, and this is what it's all about. It's a little bit emotional.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe you have a heart of stone, but I find
no, it's not that at
wistful.
all. Yeah, no. You feel I mean, you feel happy for these people who you see the work they put in, the hours they put in. You see how much it means to them. Yeah, I mean, from a human level, yeah. And I'll say from a football perspective, I know that there's talk about these conference championships potentially going to a neutral field. I hope not. When you just watch this, and you see the crowd that's into it, and like you said, you see the trophy presentation on the home field. There's something to that. There's the fact that this game was in Philadelphia, and being in Philly this weekend, and just feeling the excitement in this community for that game. yeah, like this is huge. But it's the NFC Championship game. It's not the Super Bowl, right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
And that's kind of, and that's one thing Jeffrey Lurie kept saying is that like there's one more to go, and I think that was the sentiment throughout the locker room. Now the locker room, there were victory cigars, right? I mean,
a lot of cigar smoke in the post-game locker room.
You walk in, you smell the victory cigars right away.
I think our jackets are going to be smelling.
Yeah, that was in my lead right there. I mean, that's
your
what
jacket's going to be smelling like cigars.
No, but that the smell of cigars is the first. That's you talk about your senses. You're supposed to write with your senses, right? The first sense you hear or smell rather is those victory cigars. And
what did you touch?
What I did fist pounds sometimes, like or handshakes.
And what did you taste?
Didn't taste anything. I mean, I got my water here. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get your 5 senses in the story.
No, you don't have to use all your senses in the story. You're supposed to
write
with your senses.
Telling not to handicap yourself.
In any respect. I was so you see what they did to get to this point, but you also understand that there's 2 weeks to go here, right? Like this isn't, if they make the Super Bowl and they lose, it doesn't have the same ring to it.
Sure, but I also think you can take some time to appreciate. I mean, even Jalen Hurts of all people allowed himself a smile and a little celebration in this game.
Victor cigar, yeah.
Did he get a cigar? I didn't see that.
I believe so. Yes.
Is that a yes or a no? Did you actually see him with a cigar?
I saw pictures of him with a cigar.
Oh, okay. Not quite Chuck Bednarik with like the 2 cigarettes, but
not quite.
Nonetheless. So post-game locker room, you talked to Jeffrey Lurie.
Yes.
Tell me what that was like. What did he say?
There was so much there. And
first time he's spoken since the owners meetings.
Yeah. So first off, he spoke about like how they built this roster, and they really saw there was an opportunity for them this year. That's one thing he said was that they saw a really good combination of like young emerging players and players in years 8, 9, 10, 11. I think that's how he framed it. He talked a lot about I mentioned the composition of the roster. About the advantage of the first round bye, about playing at home. That's something that he pointed out. He spoke about the coaching staff and the aggressive decisions. He said, these decisions, and this is something he said before, this happens during the summer, right? Like these aren't things that occur on the spot. There's a lot that goes into it. He talked about Sirianni's ability to connect. He really wanted to focus on like the overall staff, right? The staff you put together and the staff that is in the front office. He said it at one point, the owner gets credit and the coach gets credit and the GM gets credit and the quarterback gets credit, but there's so many people beyond that that play a role in it. He spoke a lot about some of the coaching changes that they've made, and he didn't want to give away kind of the secret for competitive purposes, but there's an understanding of when it's time to move on. And he pointed out that no one interviewed Andy Reid and no one interviewed Doug Peterson and no one interviewed Nick Sirianni. And he had to see something in these coaches. And it's a credit to him that 2 of the coaches he's hired are coaching in the Super Bowl. Right. There was a lot there from Lurie, but his other emphasis was they have one more. It's the phrase I closed my story with. It's the Spanish phrase. I'm sure you know what it is.
¿Por qué no los dos?
No, you know what it is. Here, let me pull it up here.
Yo quiero Taco Bell. I don't know. I didn't write your story.
It's like uno más. We have one more to go.
Oh yes, the famous Spanish phrase "uno más."
But isn't that mean one more?
Yeah. But
it's like uno más. We have one more to go. It's rare to win the NFC Championship. I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone in our building and the incredible work in our fans. But our focus from September on has been winning the Super Bowl. He said, here's another one. It takes everyone. Talk about the owner. Talk about the head coach. Talk about the quarterback. Talk about the GM. We're only as good as the staff that you have. In a way, that's the secret sauce, is the culture and the staff.
I thought it was also interesting that Jeffrey Lurie said that this past year's draft, there was a moment in the 6th round when the Eagles were on the clock to select Gardner-Johnson, and he said for the 4th time in his career as owner, he stood on the table and said, "I want Reed Blankenship. He's the best player on the board. Get this guy, not Brock Purdy, who is number 2 on my board, Reed Blankenship." And for some reason, nobody heard him. And the Eagles instead took Gardner-Johnson. But his track record of identifying the best players remained the same.
Look, Jeffrey can flex right now, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah. So
when else would you more want to flex?
That's what I always say with, and I'll say this publicly and I've said this privately, like coverage is often a reflection of the moment, right? And in this organization, when things aren't good, coverage is a reflection of that, right? And, we've written stories that, bring to light things that we hear when things aren't going well.
Speak for yourself. I have always said that there's nothing wrong with the organization.
When things are going well, they deserve to shine because look, this is organizational success. So yeah.
Well, and I mean, if we're being honest, like it's not just that they've identified the head coaches correctly. They've also it is one of the better run organizations in the league. They have given those coaches
absolutely
the infrastructure to succeed, and the financial support, the roster support. I mean, if they had hired Ben McAdoo instead of Doug Peterson, yeah, that's a crazy what if. But I bet that Ben McAdoo would have had a good track record with the Eagles. He would have been fine.
No, you're right. There's a reason
why
in the
NFL ownership matters more than any other sport.
No, you're right. And look, it's not a coincidence that this organization did not have sustained success before Jeffrey Lurie bought it, and they've had sustained success since Jeffrey Lurie's bought it. But I think that's something that probably doesn't get enough attention. And considering I'm the one who, or I should say, we're the ones who provide attention, that maybe it's something we should highlight more. Is Jeffrey knew the right time to move on from something. Like Andy Reid might be the best coach in the NFL, but it was probably the right time to move on from him.
I don't know that he gets that much credit for after that season knowing it was time to move on from it. I mean, it was past. It was probably a year past time, honestly.
I mean, he knew the time. It was probably the right time to move on from Doug, right?
Yeah, it turned out to be.
Yeah, and so.
And Chip,
right? And
yeah, boy.
And it's bold. Like it's bold sometimes to me. It was bold to fire Doug Peterson when he did. You can go back and read my coverage, our coverage of it. So, but I give him credit because look, this is the second time that he's had a coach make the Super Bowl in his second year, or 2 years after firing a coach. That doesn't happen by accident. And look. I didn't talk to Howie Roseman tonight, but Howie deserves a victory lap here because his roster, his roster's outstanding, and they kept adding to it. So, yeah,
I mean, it's the best series of moves I've ever seen. And we talked. I mean, that is not.
That's been well documented. Yeah, that's not under the radar.
But it's also not retrospective. Yeah. We said it as it was happening that this was a great offseason that they had.
Yep.
And he continued doing it with, Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh in season.
Yep.
We've talked about some of those things were fortuitous. This is the same thing with the team taking advantage of the bounces that have gone their way. They remain flexible. If Allen Robinson accepts their offer, they have Allen Robinson and not AJ Brown. If Russell Wilson wants to come to Philadelphia,
they have no one.
They have Russell Wilson and they don't have Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
but they remain flexible. And Howie Roseman's number one thing is being involved in everything.
Yep.
And that allowed them to trade for AJ Brown. It allowed them to trade for CJ Gardner-Johnson. Yep. It allowed them to have the space to be there to pounce when James Bradbury got released. Yep. And at every level, it's the deepest, best roster I've ever seen.
Yeah. It's why I keep going back to this point. It's not a surprise that they're here, right? If you told me week 3 that it could end up here, yeah, it would have made sense. I mean, week 1, I would have said they had a shot there. I didn't know going into week 1, Jalen would have the season that he had, right? I admit that. But once Jalen clearly took that step. The rest of the roster is so good, and they stayed healthy. And Nick's coaching job has been outstanding. I'm so excited for the Super Bowl, right? Like the Chiefs were my Super Bowl pick going into the year. The Eagles, according to BetMGM, I know the line's different everywhere right now to open, but BetMGM is our official betting partner at The Athletic. The Eagles are 2.5-point favorites.
And like it opened at Chiefs by 1.5, and then
I saw
immediately jumped.
I opened it up when I finished my story, and it was Eagles 2.5. So
I'm a little bit surprised.
I mean,
just because the quarterback usually gets the bump.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be crazy. And we, like of all the like dragons of Eagles past who they have slayed this season, they beat Doug Peterson, they beat Carson Wentz, they beat D'Amico Ryans tonight.
Zach Ertz,
everybody.
Yeah.
They didn't get Frank Reich, he didn't make it, but Corey Clement, all of these people, for it to end with Andy Reid, what a ride that would be. It's also nice that neither side is burdened by never having won.
Sure.
Right? Like they've both gotten it done.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's a matchup on even terms without that emotional baggage. I think that's kind of nice.
Yeah. And I mean, you're facing the best quarter. Last time they faced the best quarterback in NFL history, and they won the Super Bowl. And this time, the best quarterback in the NFL, who might go down as the best quarterback in NFL history.
I think the best quarterback in NFL history is Patrick Mahomes. The most accomplished quarterback in NFL history is Tom Brady.
Okay. So
that's how I feel.
Yeah, like you can't. I don't know if there is criticism of the Eagles out there. Like I've said, they've earned what they have. But if you said, well, they had, their path to the Super Bowl here was Daniel Jones and Brock Purdy, there's nothing you could say when you go up against Patrick Mahomes. He's
he's injured though.
Nah, there's 2 weeks here. He'll be fine.
Okay.
Rick Burkholder knows what he's doing there. He'll be fine.
Rick Burkholder revenge game.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Why don't I take a little break? Come back, talk about Wiregate, which I mean, one of the dumbest things.
You were fired up. You wanted a poll report.
I did want a poll report. What the hell? And we've got some swooper news. We'll hear from Marissa some more. We'll talk about Reed Blankenship's big play and everything else.
And something Jalen said too that I found interesting. So,
what a tease.
Now our next partner is a pretty cool product. Let's talk about Athletic Greens. If you're looking to get better gut health, more energy, and a stronger immune system in a really easy, natural way, you've got to check out Athletic Greens. I'm sure you'll all agree that most of us are not huge fans of having to take a bunch of pills or vitamins in the morning, but with Athletic Greens, you can get rid of all those extra vitamin bottles and finally get some room in your cabinet. Athletic Greens is an all-in-one solution that actually tastes pretty good. You'll really enjoy getting your daily vitamins. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day the right way. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. All the things. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, especially heading into flu and cold season. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/birds. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/birds to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/BWF and get on your way to being your best self. When you're at your best, you can do great things, but sometimes life gets you bogged down and you may feel overwhelmed or like you're not showing up the way you want to. Working with a therapist can help you get closer to the best version of you. Because when you feel empowered, you are more prepared to take on everything life throws at you. If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. It's not only convenient, but it's also flexible, affordable, and entirely online. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/BWF to get 10% off your first month. That's BETTERHELP.com/BWF.
Welcome back
Sorry.
to Birds with Friends. Bo and Zach, Marissa pulling the strings, making us look like doofuses for not paying attention. When not she's not making us look like doofuses. We do a good job of that on our own. This shine coming from the overhead light on my balding forehead, not a good look.
I think you look sharp tonight.
No, I don't like this. And I desperately need a haircut. Gonna get that taken care of this week.
Yeah, you gotta look your best going to Phoenix, right? I mean, if you're walking down Radio Row, Sports Center might want you to come on, or
I don't think that's gonna happen. I'm not worried about that possibility.
Channel 26 in Sheboygan might want you to come on.
Yeah.
By the way, thank you to Marissa. I was gonna, I am not shy about saying please read my stories, and then I see Marissa already put up the story that just came out during the break. So thank you for that, Marissa. You can see that on the bottom of the screen.
You can also read Zach's story about Hassan Reddick. What a game for Hassan Reddick. You could read his story about Vinny Curry. What a night for Vinny Curry to watch this game. Marcus Epps.
Yeah.
Jonathan
Gannon.
Brent Selleck.
Jonathan Gannon. How about Jonathan Gannon?
Go ahead. Take your soapbox.
I mean, you just watched what happened. You've watched what happened this season. You watched what happened tonight. You watched what happened last week against the Giants. I mean, yeah, the proof is in the pudding. Right?
Yeah, no, really shutting down that Josh Johnson offense really blew me away.
All right. Yeah.
No, I mean, you want to talk about the proof is in the pudding. Going up against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid 2-week game plan, that's the proof in the pudding, my friend.
Yeah, that's gonna be a tough one there. That's gonna be a tough one there. No, but this defense answered the bell, and
that is terrifying.
Look, but I'm not gonna. The guy I really want to highlight here is Hassan Reddick.
Absolutely.
Hassan Reddick has been, and like we keep repeating it, the beyond what they could have imagined, but this tear that he's on right now, and he played with a mission tonight, and he now has 3.5 sacks in 2 postseason games here after he had 16 sacks in the regular season. And by the way, it was because he didn't have a sack in the first 2 games. He didn't have a sack in the last game there, right? So really 16 sacks in 14 games in the regular season. And
he played in the games.
Yeah.
That's
okay. Yeah. But, okay. Fair.
Sorry.
Fair. Okay.
Just make things up.
But then in the postseason here, like he's been dominant. And the on the other sideline tonight was the presumed defensive player of the year. And Hassan Reddick had more of an impact in this game.
Did you see the Joey Bosa video?
I heard about it. I didn't watch
it. Oh, my God. What a loser.
What did he do? What happened?
Oh, he's getting so angry about somebody just, jeering him with a Bosa. I mean,
you know what you're signing up for, right?
It's
like the way to handle that.
For this game to turn out like it did, for him to get publicly humiliated like that, for the NFL to have now set for a Super Bowl matchup with 2 black quarterbacks for the very first time in NFL history, this has got to be the second worst January day of Joey Bosa's life.
Like the way to handle what happened is what Eli Manning did. What was it, week 18 or no, last week?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, just play.
Have
fun with it. Yeah. Especially the camera's on you there, Joey. Like, just be cool.
I mean, not a guy with unable to turn off the hotheadedness, really.
But yeah, Hassan Reddick was awesome tonight. Changed the game, and by the way, he tied for the league lead this year in forced fumbles with 5, and that he forces that fumble. He doesn't just sack you; he knows where to hit. He can get the ball out of the hands.
The quickness with which he closed on that sack, it's unbelievable, and like the violence that he arrives at the quarterback with.
And
It's really impressive.
And this isn't to call out Greg Rosenthal, who does awesome free agent rankings, but I'm just
who like predicted Eagles Chiefs Super
Yeah.
Bowl before the season.
Yeah,
Give him the
job,
shout out.
Greg, great job. But like, 3 years, $45 million turned out to be underpaid for Hassan Reddick.
Throwing shots at Rosenthal when he should be getting nothing but flowers.
No.
right now.
I'm calling back to that.
You mentioned him by name. You could have just said that he wasn't necessarily thought of as the prime free agent signing.
We had this conversation with Greg. The 3 for 45 turned into, I don't want to say a bargain, but it turned into a good price for the Eagles because Hassan Reddick is awesome.
Wow, there's going to be some fireworks when you and Greg see each other. And
I'm looking forward to seeing Greg.
Phoenix.
Greg does an awesome job.
The mega powers explode. Reddick is an interesting thing, and anytime that you have a team of 53 people and coaches and front office people, having a special season like this, everyone has a story, right? But this team is. I don't know if it's unique or if it's just what we're focused on, but there are so many people who it's like you couldn't script it like this, right? Mm-hmm. You've got Jason Kelce coming back to play. He launches a podcast with his brother that like shoots to the top of the charts. I believe the number 2 football podcast in the world behind Birds with Friends. And they're going to play in the Super Bowl against each other. Like this is his 11th season. This is how it's going to end. This and Andy Reid, like that's unbelievable. Hassan Reddick comes to Philadelphia mostly because he wants to be back home near friends and family. And
$15 million a year also helped, I imagine.
Well, yeah, but he said this after the game that like the reason he came home was to be near home. I don't think it was like the Eagles blew him away with the offer. He gets to have a moment like that tonight. He's up on the up on the sidelines shouting, this is my city. And then he gets to go play in the Super Bowl in Arizona, where his career started, and he was considered a bust. Like, what a full circle moment for him. You've got, Nick Sirianni avenging Frank Reich as part of his season, and he gets to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Nick gets to play too against the team. Look, he broke into the NFL in Kansas City.
Against the team, yeah, exactly.
He has a lot of ties to Kansas City. He met his wife in Kansas City.
Right.
So he's
as you have well documented. You should do a story. You should, on the way before you go to Arizona, maybe you should do Saturday. You could fly to Kansas City, go to the spot where he met his wife as a little layover, and do a story there.
I don't think so.
Just an idea.
But yeah, no, he's got a lot of connections to Kansas City. I'll put it that way.
Sure. There's so many of these guys. Brandon Graham, year 13, has the best season the most productive season of his career, at least, and he gets to go out potentially in the Super Bowl. Lane Johnson playing through this ridiculous injury and gutting it out while like being a spokesperson for mental health. And shutting down Nick Bosa, who had a combined 4 tackles in this game, no quarterback or no sacks. All of these guys, even like little guys, like I talked to Andre Dillard after the game. I don't mean little. I mean under the radar guys, background guys, bit players, relatively speaking.
I saw you talking to Dillard. I'm curious where that was.
Well, Leonard Dickerson suffered an injury in this game, and Dillard goes in to play left guard to finish it. Dickerson was in some kind of thing on his right elbow after the game. We don't know the severity. He could be ready. It could be season ending. In which case, Andre Dillard, who has been here for 4 seasons, and all we talk about is what he can't do. Well, what if his first career start at left guard comes in the Super Bowl
next
to Jordan Mailata, going up against a lot of Chris Jones, and he had really good perspective on that. Like the times that he thought he might quit football, not in the NFL, but in high school and college. And like thinking about his parents and how fun it's been to try to learn left guard. All these guys, everyone has a story, right?
1,000%.
1,000%. That's what makes it interesting.
Yeah. Look, not to get deep here. That's part of what makes this job fun, right? Is to learn those stories. And then
you got to come, I think, closer to the mic. You've been inching away. I don't know if it's because you're afraid of me.
No, it's fine. Sorry. So yes, it's to learn those stories. It's to share those stories. And like you said, like it was Nick Sirianni's message after the game was that everyone dreams of this. Like you play football to get to the Super Bowl, whether you're 2 or 8 or 14, whatever it may be, like you dream of getting to the Super Bowl. So what you shared about Andre Dillard there that's touching because like that's what there's so much that goes in to these guys playing, and now they're doing it on the biggest stage. Yeah, it's cool. Like it's gonna be exciting to chronicle. There's gonna be good stories to share during these next 2 weeks.
So the second biggest play in the game after the Brock Purdy injury was Brett Kern lining up for a
That
punt,
wasn't the second biggest play, but
and it looked like a shank, just a dead shank. And immediately, ball's like midway through the air. I see on the sideline, I see Michael Clay's hand shoot into the air.
make sure you check out both special team stories.
He
by the
starts
way.
yelling.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is going on? It must have been a penalty. And there's a penalty flag. Okay, that's what that is. No, that's a penalty on Josh Jobe. What's going on? And I see Jake Elliott going nuts because Jake Elliott knows all the rules.
As you had a great line in that story after the Giants game.
What was the line?
I think it was Elliott
Dosmas?
suddenly. No, I think it was Elliott suddenly a punting expert.
Oh, yeah, suddenly, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I
I read your stories.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. And the ball hit the wire, from the overhang, the sky cam, and then like it's very clear that it hit the wire. One, because they all called it out immediately, but then whatever his name is, John Hussey, is that his name? The ref.
Okay.
That's his name, right?
I believe so, but yeah.
I'm sorry. Do we?
There you go. It was John Hussey. Yes.
John Hussey.
Yeah.
Not as I feel like I
flashlight's on.
I feel like Hussey has been around long enough where he should be a household name, and like it's not the most you got your Ronnie Torberts, you got your Hockules, you got your Carl Cheffers. It feels like Hussey's not as household of a name as he should be.
Yeah. So I did a story over the summer on the late Art McNally, who passed away recently, but was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame back during the summer. And I spoke to his son-in-law, who said that Art's goal was for you to never know his name. If his name was in the paper, it was a bad sign. So a good official, you shouldn't know his name.
And what's even better about that is that it turns out that was not Art McNally's name. It was actually Frank McNally. And so he fooled everybody and he won.
Pride of Philadelphia.
Hussey comes on and says, we're not able to confirm that the ball didn't hit whether or not the ball hit the wire. How is this not a thing that you can confirm?
I guess they didn't have.
Also, I didn't if it hits the wire, is it just a repunt? I guess that's interesting.
It's a repunt. It's like when it hits the scoreboard in Dallas.
What a ridiculous thing. This, you can make this comment anytime, but this multi-billion-dollar industry where they've got the chain links deciding what's a first down or not. A ball can just hit the wire and they don't know. There's no like little sensor on the wire. They can't just actually see that on the replay. Give me a break.
By the
Pathetic.
way, this
was against a real team,
that
could have mattered.
This is not like talk radio feigned outrage. Like Bo was actually outraged when this occurred. Yeah, like you're being genuine here. You were outraged.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that it occurred.
It's not unfortunate. It's unfortunate Brock Purdy got injured. It's ridiculous that a thing that should be actual rules.
Yeah.
That you can't get right.
Yeah. I hear you there. I wasn't. I just thought it was. I thought it was unfortunate that there has to be a way. Like I was thinking, can't the cam that the wire's on, wouldn't that have had some type of vibration or something like that?
How about showing us the camera angle?
Yeah, but I guess the cameras that they had in the replay, they couldn't confirm it.
Terrible. I mean, there are missed calls.
I mean, are they supposed to go on the Eagles' word, right? Like if he.
It seemed pretty clear.
If everyone on the Eagles was pointing to holding, but they didn't see the holding, should they call holding?
If it's something so rare like that, then yes. Yes, I think so.
I mean,
that was nuts.
I don't know. They won 31-7. I think we devoted the appropriate amount of time to it.
I would like to do more. Do you think that Aaron Siposs, after these current performances, do you think that Aaron Siposs might be on his way back from injured reserve? The Eagles have one return from injured reserve bullet left to fire.
And he's the only one they can bring back. Well, they could bring back Brett Toth if they wanted to.
He's not IR. He's PUP. They can just activate him. Although that window may have passed.
Well, I guess we can have the Panalytics guys on to
that's a good idea.
To tell us. I thought Brett Kern had a good game last week.
What are we doing? We're doing daily pods in 2 weeks, right? What are we doing this week?
You're asking me like I have any say in it, right? I mean,
Marissa, what do you think? Oh, she asleep?
We lost Marissa.
No, I'm here. It's up to you guys. You told me what you want to do.
Well, nothing tomorrow. That's for sure. I don't know. Maybe 3 this week.
Well, we might have a potential special guest this week. So we were working on it last week.
That's right.
You know who it is.
True.
Yeah,
That's
you're
true.
looking at me like you have no idea who I'm talking about.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
So until we confirm that, we won't. What? So until we confirm that, but yeah, so that could be a fun episode this week.
That's true. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just talking shop.
Yeah.
What do you think? What did Michael have any thoughts on The Wire, Marissa?
Not too many thoughts on The Wire.
What?
Not as many as you did. He leaves that stuff to you. You know, he thought there should have been.
Someone should be fired.
Angle. I mean, of all the cameras in that stadium, there should have been a camera angle of it, I would imagine. But maybe it would have taken too long. I don't know.
I thought season 4 was underrated.
Good
Who
one,
underrated
Zach.
Season 4? Season 4 is universally considered the best season, which I don't know that I agree with, but it's like everybody thinks that. What? How could that be underrated?
People think season 4 is the best season?
Oh, yeah.
I thought people think season 1's the best season.
Oh, I think season 4 is universally considered like the
Okay, Stone Cold says properly rated. I see. Okay.
like the perfect season of television.
Okay, yeah, it was an awesome season. You
could tell me season 2 is underrated.
No.
You could tell me season 5 is underrated. Both of those seasons not very
well.
highly
So season
rated.
5 I appreciated more than I think some others did because of the journalism component.
Yeah, and I didn't like the journalism component of season
Really?
5. Yeah.
Okay.
I have
find
not
myself
watched,
very
so-
disappointed in any pop culture journalism thing, like movies especially do not hit for me. But I thought season 5 was solid. But
I don't find myself disappointed by
season
other
4 is
sports.
underrated.
Yeah,
It's like saying you think Tom Brady is underrated.
well, by you he is. I know that. So yes, I mean, he's definitely underrated by you. But look, the Eagles clinched the NFC
Eat a
championship
strawberry
tonight.
and try to impress me. You know.
Let's. There's so much more to dig into. Jalen Hurts. I wanted to talk about him. It was interesting hearing Jalen speak after the game.
15 for 25 for 121 and
What's up here?
11 carries for 39 yards. The Eagles have not needed to have Jalen Hurts play or really do anything in these first 2 games. And I thought that this was not a great game for Jalen Hurts against a very good defense. He missed a couple opportunities downfield. I sort of expect that we're going to get that big game in the Super Bowl, but go ahead.
So he had a line tonight about how his first year that people probably didn't even want him drafted here.
Yeah.
And then the question
Which he's never said before.
Yeah. And then the question got followed
It's like he's
up.
been holding that one in.
And he said it was, and I'm quoting him here, it was a big surprise to many. My favorite verse, I went through a lot of stuff in college and it kind of stuck with me. John 13:7, you may not know now, but later you'll understand. Hopefully people understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was and then, yeah.
Because if the hand of God was Jeffrey Lurie coming down to select
I mean,
Jalen Hurts.
I think people can understand now that was that might go down as like the best draft pick of the Howie Roseman era. And it was
Well,
it
I've
was
always
maybe
thought
the
that the
most
way that you
polarizing at the
characterize
time.
that pick is pathetic and how wrong that it is.
Oh wow. Okay.
You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm referencing.
Oh,
What are you talking about?
it was pathetic in how wrong it was.
How you and Sheil talk about the Jalen Hurts pick
Oh.
is pathetic and how wrong it is. You're not going to sell that? You're not going to give me that?
No. Enlighten me. I'm sorry. It's been a long work day.
We talked about this before the game, the text that you got.
Okay. I see what you mean there. Yes. Yeah. My brother told me my analysis was
You said that Matt is hard on you, and apparently you were right.
I mean, I just consider that normal. Pose. Yeah. Yeah, both nice.
Why don't you give Matt's take on the Jalen Hurts selection?
I mean, I don't think that's
It's all within the range of outcomes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Matt says the Eagles supposed to that the Eagles consider a range of outcomes more than like
respect him calling you out.
what the role was going to be. He was calling out me and Shield for writing that the Eagles drafted Hurts to be a low priced backup quarterback. And his point, and I think there's some validity that they draft him based on the role, they drafted him based on the range of outcomes. And what Jeffrey Lurie said tonight actually about that pick was like they saw the upside, they saw the potential in him. Right now, it's easy to say this now, but clearly they had conviction because they stuck their neck out on that pick. And we'll have a lot of time over these next 2 weeks to talk about.
I think the truth is somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Like it's important to remember that even after 2020, if Carson Wentz had wanted to stay in Philadelphia, he would have stayed in Philadelphia. They would not have traded him. It's not like the Eagles were.
Are we sure of that though?
Do you think that's just what they say?
I don't know.
Scenes?
Like I mean, I don't know, but I do wonder, and I didn't think this now, and I've written and I've said that that like Carson, that trading Carson was not their desired outcome. But I do wonder, considering the way Carson's career has gone since they traded him, whether they saw this coming, whether they were like, because look, Andy Reid, one of Andy Reid's great strengths, if you will, was like he knew when things were ending before they ended. He always got other than like Derek Burgess, let's say, he always got out of a player a year before he should have.
I think Joe Banner would tell you that was Joe Banner.
Okay. But I mean, maybe the Eagles saw reasons to be,
I think that Carson Wentz's injury history was a factor in the Jalen Hurts selection, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think we know enough behind the scenes to know that, that they would have kept Carson in 2020 if he had wanted to come back, I think.
In 2021.
In 2021, yes.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we don't need to go down. I thought I thought it was interesting hearing Jalen say that tonight. I thought had a good chance to talk to Lane Johnson. What did Jason Kelsey say? You spoke to Jason.
Well, yeah, I mean, I asked him about the possibility of playing Travis. He said, as we talked about, like you couldn't write a better story or like good fodder for people who say the NFL is scripted. He had good perspective on, I was asking him about all of these guys coming from the outside. We've seen plenty of times when, it looks like a team has a good offseason and everything doesn't gel quite so easily. And he said, I think a lot goes to like the players themselves who Howie picked. Howie Roseman valuing the say of the coaches, like how these guys would fit, and also like the personalities, and also like the strength of the locker room to begin with. And I think this is another thing where Nick Sirianni maybe doesn't get enough credit. Like the connect emphasis that can seem a little bit silly from the outside. I think it really does matter.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big part of getting these guys ingratiated. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Sirianni is someone who probably doesn't get the credit that he deserves, right? Because
I think that's probably right.
Yeah, and he's done such a good coaching job. And
it looks like maybe not a done deal, but it looks like Shane Steichen's probably coming back.
Yeah, the Colts seem to be still a possibility there, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
And Jonathan Gannon, it looks like D'Amico Ryans is going to get the Houston job.
Yeah, Jonathan said to, I think, Breland Moore from Fox 29 tonight that he's coming back.
Oh, is that what he said?
Yeah, that
because I think Denver could still be a possibility.
I saw people put that out there, but then he said, he said and look, coaches have said they're coming back and something else has happened, but he said to Breland Moore, he's like, yeah, I'm coming back. Like, you can't get rid of me or something like that. Yeah.
Well, and Vic Fangio signed somewhere else in Miami, so the Eagles fall back there.
Jonathan was pumped coming off the field.
He should be.
Yeah.
Defense gave up 7 points and they're going to the Super Bowl. Puff that chest.
I'm curious. How do you think this game is going to be remembered?
Probably the wire thing.
No, like if
They're gonna change the rule. It's gonna be the wire game.
if we're doing Birds with Friends 5 years from now, and you
God
talk
forbid.
about really, wow, I feel
Who
like
do you
there's
think?
I feel like there's something you need to unpack there.
No, I'm kidding.
No, okay.
I wonder who the hosts will be.
Well, I mean, do you have something up your sleeve here?
Well, I'm just saying. It's 5 years since the last Super Bowl when we had two different hosts. Now we have two different hosts. Who knows? Things change.
True.
I might die. I don't know.
Jeez, that just took a turn.
Anything could happen.
Well, you'll still be working, so.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah, I
38-7
hope not.
the 38-7 game, we remember that, right? And there's that clip that has since gone around from before the game of the guys dancing to Meek Mill in the end zone. How is this game going to be remembered? Since when Brock Purdy goes down, like
I think the wire and Bosa before the game.
nah. I'm curious, Purdy. I think Purdy,
rich. That's how I do it. It's because I'm rich. I can afford it.
I think Purdy's injury. I think.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, that Devontae catch could have been incredible.
And it'll also be colored
Yeah.
by what happens in the Super Bowl, obviously.
Sure. But even, people talk about the Tampa Bay game and the Carolina game. And when they talk about that idea of the Atlanta game, they talk about Dawkins' hit on Algie Crumpler, right? That was that was the moment. What's the moment here? Is it if I would ask, I can't see the comments, but
we got so much money.
but let's open this up to the viewers here. How will this game be remembered in 5 years, in 10 years? Will it be a play? Will it be a moment? What's the lasting memory from this game? The Reddick
Probably
stats.
Uno Mas.
Josh Johnson, just dropping that ball.
Yeah, that was funny. That was tough. That, you know what, we're probably not giving enough credit to that touchdown drive to go up 14-7. That answered
All the penalties,
that answered the McCaffrey touchdown. It's 7-7. The offense has stalled. It's mid-second quarter. You're starting to think that maybe this is not going to be as easy as it might have looked once Purdy goes down. And they have this 14-play drive that was definitely helped out by the Niners' undisciplinedness. 3 big penalties on that drive for the Niners. That was huge. And then the Johnson drop after that turns things. But that was a huge drive, and they were able to lean on their running game as the game went on. The run started to pop.
Yeah, I gotta say, I mean, and credit to Bo here. I was giving the Niners all this credit. 3 NFC championships in 4 games, and the expression "act like you've been there." Boy, that was not the case. They did not have composure.
Well, Zach, it's a good thing you mentioned that, because I got to tell you, Kyle Shanahan, Oscar the Grouch, garbage person of the game. You come into this game and he's like, I mean, you know what? It's bad luck that Brock Purdy got injured. It's worse design that you're asking a tight end to block Hassan Reddick on a play like that. You sort of got what you were asking for. And then you get 14 penalties. You don't challenge the Devontae Smith thing. I'm sorry. Daniels was right. He's not a good coach when it comes to everything aside from offensive game planning.
Well, I think he's a good coach, but I am curious.
He's mediocre.
I am curious. Is there a reason why his quarterbacks always get hurt? Like does he have something to do with that?
Probably the flat brims.
No, you wonder. It seems every year their quarterbacks are getting hurt.
Even in Washington, that happens.
Yeah, I mean, you wonder if there's something to that. I don't know. I don't want to speculate, but goodness, this is to be on your fourth quarter,
Jabron,
and
then they're just totally losing their cool.
Yeah,
committing these rough penalties for when the game's already over. Come on, as you said, have a little.
It is. It's funny given the context of our conversation with Tim Kawakami the other day. I saw that he was getting criticized for being aggressive there at the end of the second quarter.
That was interesting, because I thought they were going to turtle up there.
Yeah, he's finally aggressive with his fourth quarterback.
Yeah,
and in the rain, and Josh Johnson just drops the ball, and it changes the game. If San Francisco goes in,
something about the South Philadelphia rain makes opposing quarterbacks just turn into witches from the Wizard of Oz. What's going on?
If San Francisco goes into halftime 14-7, getting the ball at the top of the half. I'm not saying they win the game, but
so different.
It's different.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Should we turn our attention to Swooper?
Sure. I hope we brought it tonight. Like this is an important pod, and I've heard for 4 years now about this legendary post Super Bowl pod that you and Shield did. I want to make sure that I'm bringing it. That in these cases, I'm rising to the.
Do you think is it bad that I brought up Matt's text? Are you upset about that? Is he going to be upset about that?
Yeah, I don't think that was like the share of public consumption, but
I don't know. It's kind of funny though.
Yeah.
You had already talked about him being tough on you. We got to follow through on that.
Fair enough.
All right. Big game, obviously, in Swooper Forecasting. 7 points at stake. I was up 8-6 to 4. The Super Bowl will be worth 5 points. So no matter what happens.
Wait, did we know that ahead of time? The 5-point Super Bowl, or was that arbitrary?
Yeah, how is that determined? Did you just make that up?
Okay, yeah, Marissa,
what are you talking about? That's what it's always been.
Oh wait, how many times?
What are you talking about? It gets 1 more point every round.
Okay.
The first round of the playoffs was worth 2 points. The Eagles didn't play. Last week was worth 3 points. It was a tie, so it carried over to this week.
Okay.
So
all
3
right.
plus 4 for this week.
Okay.
The Super Bowl is worth 5 points. I mean, of all the things to get on me for, I'm sorry you guys weren't paying attention.
Okay.
So, Marissa, home quarterbacks in the game Sunday throw for more yards than the away quarterbacks. Did this hit for you?
I mean, I haven't tallied it, but I would imagine.
So the home quarterbacks in this game threw for 24 yards more than the away teams. But what happened in the Chiefs game?
It was much bigger in the Chiefs game, I believe.
Let's pull this up here. 23-20 Chiefs. Box score here. Joe Burrow threw for 270.
Yeah.
And Patrick Mahomes threw for 326.
Right.
So the home quarterbacks. You nailed that, Marissa. Good work.
Check.
Don't patronize her.
Me and Zach are working
complimenting
together.
her. Yes.
Hassan
We're
Reddick
working together, Zach.
has more sacks than Nick Bosa.
Check. Good
Big
job.
check, too. Kyle Shanahan elects to not go for it on 4th down on at least 3 instances in the Ben Baldwin 4th down bot. I haven't checked this yet. I should have checked it before the show. I don't think 3 hit, though.
I don't think there was
1 hit.
Yeah, I don't even think there was 1 either, but I could be wrong. So.
And the Eagles win the game by more than 14 points. So 3 for Marissa.
Yeah.
For Bo, Mike McCarthy is no longer the Cowboys head coach. Probably not going to happen.
But he fired his offensive coordinator.
Yeah, that should account for a half point. You're right. All right, so half point for me.
Yeah.
No.
The Eagles have a passing touchdown of at least 40 yards. Did not happen. Obviously, I did not correctly predict your submissions, Zach, so that didn't happen. The Eagles play a plurality of 12 personnel. Not the case. They played very heavy 11 in this game. I was a little bit surprised, so it didn't happen. Kyle Shanahan elects not to go for it on 4th down at least 1 time. We don't know if this happened. I think it didn't happen, but let's call it 1. So that's 1.5 for me. Jack Stoll has a catch. Bingo, bango, bongo. 2.5. You can tell that Jalen really trusts him. And the Eagles win the game. That's a hit. 3.5 for me, or 2.5, or 2. Zach, boy, the Eagles have a first half takeaway. Nailed.
Check.
The Eagles attempt a deep shot on their first drive. Now, I don't think that this is in the spirit of the prompt, because this was a scramble play. So, like,
He gets it. Check.
If you can look in the mirror and feel good about it,
Yeah.
Yes.
that's okay. Even though
The next one is the one that you got to
it's not
question.
really what it's about a designed play deep. Do you feel good about that, Zach?
I'm reading it here. The Eagles attempt a deep shot on their first drive.
But you understood the reason behind the prompt. Do you feel good accepting that point?
100%. They attempted a deep shot.
All right, a man
Yes.
with no scruples. All right.
This next one is the question mark.
The Eagles succeed on a deep shot on their first drive. Obviously, Jalen Hurts or Devontae Smith did not catch the ball.
Well, he did. It's roll to catch.
I would say the language says succeed. They got the first down, so that is success.
Yeah. It counted.
It does not say made the catch.
It counted in here as a catch. Counted in here.
I'm just saying, I don't know. I mean, you're going to get the point, but I don't think you should sleep well.
No, he gets
There's
it.
a lot of reasons
Check.
I won't sleep well, but not for Swooper. I can
All
promise
right,
you
so that would be 3. The 49ers do not have a rushing touchdown. Didn't hit. Brian Dawkins is an honorary captain. You knew that. You sort of cheated, and you knew that when it happened. So you got it. So that's going to be 4 points for you. That's going to be a win.
Congrats.
You are going to take the lead, Zach, heading into the Super Bowl. You're going to be at 11. I'm going to be at 8. Marissa's going to be at 5. And the Super Bowl is going to be worth 5 points. Or Marissa's going to be at 6. And the Super Bowl is going to be worth 5 points. That means
Perfect.
Marissa can tie you. I can win. You can win. You will have 27 turkeys. Marissa will have 24 turkeys. I will have 10 turkeys. However, I got the White Sox from the Eagles in this game. I'm going to get those turkeys back. So I forget exactly how many that was, but I'm going to be back up towards the 20s.
By the way, I have something I want to open up to our audience here. I received multiple messages that upon listening, people thought that I yelled Swooper at 8 and not at 9. Just as Professor Selman heard. He heard me at 8. And I got a message on Twitter. I got a message from my cousin who said, you should definitely get a turkey back. That was at 8. Now, I don't know if the audio sounded different than the video because
the video was unanimous in the chat that it was 9.
Well, it wasn't unanimous.
I think something changed in the audio. However, if you are going to, after getting the benefit of these like borderline janky calls on the deep shot on the first possession, you're going to argue for an extra turkey? You should be ashamed of yourself.
Bo, how is it janky if they threw a pass 29 yards?
Because the whole theory behind it is, let's see if they attempt to design a deep shot downfield against this Niners defense. It's not, Jalen Hurts is scrambling for his life and just lofts up a prayer downfield.
Isn't that a deep, that's a deep shot?
I'm just saying the idea was about the conversation of the game planning process.
Zach wants uno mas, according to Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Devontae Smith's pattern there was a deep pattern. There's a reason why Devontae Smith's there and not 10 yards closer.
I'm just saying you shouldn't feel good about yourself. And for you to now ask for a charity extra turkey, if you want an extra turkey, get pregnant.
What? I don't know what that means.
Because he's saying that's how I got my extra turkeys.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, that's not going to happen. So
never say never.
Hey, I think this is fun. The fact that Zach and I have a chance to tie, and I would be fine sharing the crown with Zach, ending in a tie.
No way. We're gonna need to
hold
figure
that
out
over your. We can both hold that over your head all year till next season.
God.
That would be honestly perfect. I mean, in my book,
especially because he invents the rules as he goes along. So
right,
yeah,
I'm coming for blood.
Yeah, I mean, this is like this would basically be like if the 49ers just added a 5th down when they missed on 4th down, right? I mean, they were what 0 for 3 on 4th down tonight. If they were just like, we deserve a 5th down here.
That's what you're asking for. You're asking for a free turkey.
I'm saying you're inventing the rules. I'm not asking for
I don't invent the rules.
Okay.
The game is self-sustaining.
I don't even know what the game is anymore. But yeah, happy to get the win. I appreciate Professor Selman's submissions. And we got a big Super Bowl.
And you cheated on the Dawkins thing? I mean,
I did not cheat on the Dawkins thing.
I should have done a little research. I just saw it in the chat and assumed that was a good one. So
yeah,
I didn't know they would have announced
it. Just says, my name is Bo Wulf.
Use up all your turkeys on that. That's fine. I'll bid you up.
and then you won't get it because that's not my real name.
Probably, yeah, true.
Okay. Zach takes a swig of whiskey.
It's not whiskey. It's water with a splash of lemonade.
Ooh.
And a heavy pour of Makers. How do you think Gardner Minshew played in this game, Zach?
Took a good knee.
That's a good line to say for something. Took a good knee. I don't know. Maybe somebody proposes.
Sure. Thought Christian McCaffrey was good. Good player.
He's fine. That touchdown run was awesome. I saw people getting on Marcus Epps on that play. I didn't think that was fair.
He went low, but
he's the one comes screaming in from the backfield. He made McCaffrey have to hurdle him.
Yeah,
it's the cleanup that is really bad.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I thought. I mean, Epps,
and the way that Gardner-Johnson comes in, just trying to thud there,
and I think Slay missed the tackle on that one, but yeah,
and Kaiser, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't the idea that the Niners offense was going to start humming, or like that their running attack was going to wear the Eagles' run defense down, that is not the way that I saw this game play.
No, that's not either.
I think it's possible that Purdy would have been able to throw on them. Even like that one completion he had to open the game, I thought was a nice throw.
Yeah.
And the middle of the field was open. You could tell that they were attacking Kaiser White.
Mhm.
I was surprised that the defensive plan in this game was really the base 5-2 and not the 5-1-5. And they were keeping Kaiser White on the field instead of Avonte Maddox. We should just close it out, or not close it out, but just close the circle that it was Gardner-Johnson at safety and Avonte Maddox at nickel full time. But that was a little bit surprising, but it seemed to work well. I mean, it's hard to judge based on the way the game actually turned out. But I think that Purdy might have had success throwing the ball. I think they would have scored points.
I could see that. The thing I was surprised with was when Josh Johnson went down, I think San Francisco should have committed to a wildcat offense with McCaffrey. And I don't know how much they had that in their system. But like at that point, instead of just doing straight handoffs,
I think that Josh Johnson's a capable
No,
player.
once Johnson went down, I'm saying.
Oh, once Johnson went down.
Yeah, when they put Purdy in the game as like
that.
handing off.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, they had that one drive where they ran the ball 9 straight times.
Yeah.
Right. At that point, just go with Wildcat and throw the Eagles off. Right.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah. But
it's because your boy can't coach.
I think Shanahan can coach. I think he got outcoached tonight.
Mm.
I think it's gonna be
Took a hell of a knee.
Oh, one thing I think Jeffrey Lurie is a reader of yours. You had that great stat recently about Nick Sirianni off of extended rest, off the bye week. Jeffrey said, we know the challenge of playing against Andy Reid off the bye, and Nick Sirianni is really good off the bye too.
I don't even know if I wrote that. I might have just said it on the podcast. So maybe he listened.
No, I think you wrote it.
Did I?
Yeah.
I think they were just kind of tired of it.
Zach's got some weird stuff coming out of his iPad over there.
That's a Tyler Dunn, Jeff Perlman podcast. We said something with Siri.
Oh.
Yeah.
Siri, play the Belichick Saban folder.
I think you have to say, hey, Siri.
Mm.
Yep.
Hey, Siri, open up Zach's latest incognito tab.
What app shall I open?
You got my watch.
Okay. Who do you think is going to be the...
We really don't have to drag this on. We're going to be doing a lot of podcasts before Super Bowl here.
Who do you think is going to be the star of media week for the Eagles? Who's not not Jalen Hurts or AJ Brown?
Well, I think Nick will be like I think the media night will suit Nick well because you're not really asking like X's and O's questions, right? The media night's not like the nitty gritty. The media night's where Nick can become a storyteller.
Larry Karras.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Slay will be the star. Slay loves an audience. He's never had an audience like this before.
Yeah.
Slay is gonna. I think Slay is gonna.
That's
blow
a good
up.
one.
Yeah. I think
Mailata is the other one who comes to mind.
That's good too. Yes. I mean, I don't know CJ that well, but I can see CJ. Popping a few.
Slay's a good call. I think Slay and Mailata are the two guys who are gonna soap up the attention.
Yeah. Not Isaac.
I don't think it's gonna be Isaac.
I will. A funny story would be just spending the hour in front of Isaac at media night, and that'd be a good running diary.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else that you'd like to get off your chest?
Big win. I think that's an obvious statement. No, big win. It's gonna be an interesting week. I think the Eagles are gonna be. What
is the expectation for the actual week ahead for the Eagles?
So my expectation is that they treat this like a normal game week, right? Where they're gonna have the practices, they're gonna have the meetings, they're gonna try to prepare as if the game's this weekend, right? And then because as we all know, when you get to the Super Bowl site, it's much harder to have a normal week. There's a lot of media obligations. You're meeting and living in a hotel, basically. The players are, we are. So it's
rooming together.
We're not rooming together.
That's what you think.
It's a different situation preparation wise. So you try to get as much done this week as you can, and we'll be there in the locker room. We'll be there on the practice field, and we'll be there having all your updates.
Marissa, are you coming?
That's not my decision.
Wow.
We'll see. I mean,
Employee number whatever. This
we'll
is
see
a
if
deal
we'll see if my boss John is listening right now.
John, let's go.
I don't think it's his decision either. So I think it's a credentials decision.
We need the best producer in the game on site.
Well, she is the best producer in the game.
Well, we know you guys will have everything covered and a million stories like you did last week. So
I can't wait for that Goodell press conference. You got to ask him about the wire.
If you do, I'm gonna crack up. He's got all this stuff going on, with the future of the league, with hires, and you're worried about the wire.
Listen, someone's got to be worried about it. Roger, 2-part question. Why is the league so racist? And also, what can you do to fix the wire thing? I'll hang up and listen.
All right. I appreciate everyone tuning in. You can wrap up the show.
Okay.
You're the host.
Well, the Eagles are doing it. They're going to the Super Bowl.
And so are we. Hopefully, all three.
I mean, do you want me to wrap it up or not?
Yes.
The Eagles are going to the Super Bowl, and so are we. What did you then say?
Hopefully, all three of us.
Hopefully, all three of us. This season that has felt headed towards this climax for a long time is climax like too loaded of a word there?
Only if you have a dirty mind. I mean, it's.
Hey Siri,
I understood the context.
Climax. Okay. It's 12:57.
I do want to say we'll have a lot of content leading up to the Super Bowl. Make sure you check it out.
It's a lot of pressure.
Pressure makes diamonds, right?
And you sink to the level of your training.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. You got more eyeballs on you. This is what you're in the game for, right? So, you write so people read, and more people are going to read, and there's going to be a lot of competition for good stories, and we'll be ready to deliver that for you and for you.
Well, and also sincerely, thank you to all the listeners.
Mm-hmm.
We had a couple people in front of us in the press box today, yelling "Birds with Friends." That was fun.
Someone wrote it on their phone and showed it to me. Yeah, you weren't there. I don't know where you were at the moment. They banged on the glass. They lifted up their phone and they said BWF.
Love it.
Yeah.
Shout out to that guy. We had
it was actually a woman.
Shout out to that woman. Even better. I mean, our female listeners are way better. Let's be honest.
Obviously.
We talked to Oscar in the locker room.
Oh, Oscar was awesome.
Fantastic. Yeah. Who works on the Spanish broadcast. Says he's a big fan, and the best is when we have Denise on. He loves when we have Denise. So shout out to Oscar. And
he
Denise.
actually said, "Does this mean Daily Pods now?"
Yeah.
Oh,
I hope he weighs in on the very famous saying, "Uno más."
Well, of course, as you know, Oscar. Uno más. So congratulations to all of our listeners, because you get to watch this team go to the Super Bowl. Probably the best team of your lifetimes. And I think if they win the Super Bowl, they're in the conversation for one of the greatest teams of all time, but we can have that conversation another time.
Yeah, we can definitely have that another time. Okay.
What if they win the Super Bowl 70-0?
We'll have that conversation at another time. That would make for an interesting post-game pod.
Okay. So thanks to everybody for listening. It is 12:59. And for Zach and Marissa and Joey, who is so fortunate to be so wealthy, we thank you for listening. We will talk to you later this week. The Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. We'll have you covered. Live from Lincoln Financial Field. We say goodnight, and we say, as always, we love you.